Hello friends, and welcome back. This is the third time now that the new moon is over Bodh Gaya in India, and so we're transitioning in our course between the first and the second half of the program. Well, we've been focusing so far on really trying to understand the nature of experience, and by looking very closely at lived experience moment by moment, the phenomenology of the human experience, the Buddha is directing our attention to seeing the very subtle, very unconscious process of grasping that's going on. There are things we're holding on to. There are ways in which the mind is engaged and yoked and grabbed by some very primitive and very powerful forces that are keeping us bound to suffering. We've seen how really at its heart the Four Noble Truths formula is a phenomenological investigation of this, how we can see moment to moment how there is something that feels off, that there's a cause for that, a very specific thing that we're attached to, we're resistant of, or want to be other than it is, and how by releasing or abandoning that grasp and replacing the wanting or not wanting with equanimity, it opens up the mind in a very different way to experience things as they are, instead of as we're projecting them or wanting them to be. Now with the next few weeks, we're transitioning to really another of the core teachings, they all seem to be core, of interdependent origination. We're starting to look at the whole notion of how one thing is conditioned by another. It doesn't mean that all is one or that everything is interconnected. What dependent origination is saying is that in every single moment, every instance of lived experience, there is a whole confluence of factors and causes and conditions that come together to make things exactly as they are. No two moments are ever alike. It's a constant flow and flux, and things are changing and shifting all the time. And this gets us into the territory of non-self. The non-self isn't some sort of denial of existence. You know, you think you exist, but you don't, really. It's saying that the nature of one's existence is an incessant process, a constant renewal and refreshing of a virtual reality we call ourselves and our world. That because everything is conditioned, there's really no single substance at the heart of it. There's no single power controlling it all. That it's really just a series of unfolding relationships, unfolding events. And so we are invited now to look at that very closely and see how that, if we can penetrate that in our actual experience, it really explains a lot and it unravels a lot. That sort of grasping that we do at the heart of things, that's optional. That's created by certain conditions. When insight is low, when energy is low, and so forth, then, you know, that will naturally occur. But with a heightened awareness and an understanding of how one thing is formed by another, how strengthening certain factors can have a transformative effect, we really begin to take some control, or at least exert some influence on who we are and how we're unfolding and how the world around us is unfolding. So I invite you to look over these texts carefully. They really are the core pieces, the heart of the Dharma, the heart of the teaching. And these texts are telling us to understand the relationship between impermanence, that everything is changing, on the one hand, suffering on the other, how when we put ourselves in opposition to that change in any way, it creates a kind of friction or a heat or disturbance for us. The relationship between that and interdependence, interdependent origination, that understanding the dynamics of that flux is understanding the extent to which multiple factors are working together every moment to shape a unique experience. And now also weaving in this notion of non-self. It's not personal. This doesn't mean that you don't matter or you don't exist. It simply means that what we construe to be ourselves is a complex flow of impersonal events. We have the option of relating to that as self. We take it all as me, mine, myself. I constitute that. I'm in control of that. I'm the agent at the heart of this. But that's ultimately a misinterpretation. What these insights that we're guided towards are opening up for us is a way of being within the flow of our experience without needing to be the one in charge, without needing to feel that it's all about us. To understand that there is a constant flux of events. That thing we call ourselves is part of that flux of events, but it's not the only part, and it's not even necessarily the central part. Consciousness arises and falls. It's as contingent, as transient as everything else in the universe, and that's okay. See, we can find our peace and our tranquility and our wisdom in a deep understanding of the way things are without wishing it was different, without craving and desiring to be immortal, to be special, to be whatever, you know. Those are the emotions that actually are more toxic than they are healthy. That sort of need to be the one and only one is really at the source of so many of our problems. It's the node around which all the grasping occurs. This view, this opinion, this habit of mind that I am the one and it's all about me. And as we begin to loosen the hold that that has upon us, a lot of things start unfolding differently. You can begin, as this month wears on, to open to seeing yourself, seeing the world around you as a interplay of impersonal events. And it's no less meaningful because of that. It's no less valuable because of that. Being aware of it moment to moment is no less astonishing, no less precious because of that. So let's see if we can embrace interdependence and non-self, investigate it very carefully in our own experience as we move through the third section, the third month of this course. I hope it's going well for you. I encourage you to stick with it, even if you've missed a week here or there or some section. I know it's summertime, people are traveling, they have less routine in their lives often. But this is just a gift. It's an opportunity for you to come back to this material whenever you like. And, you know, as far as I know, access to this material will remain indefinitely. So if you can think to, you know, copy it and print it and download it and put it in a book for yourself, that would be the safest thing to do. But if you're behind, don't worry, that material will always be accessible to you. So have fun with it, but also allow it to take you to some very deep places, which it's capable of doing. Thank you so much for participating. See you next time.